Hi, my name is Abby Little. I am 16 years old and I live in South Carolina. I'm making this video to talk about anxiety, depression, self-harm, suicide, and paranoia. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me, then I'll start talking about the subjects. I have 4 sisters, a brother-in-law, 2 nieces, 2 nephews, and like most families, 2 parents. My parents are divorced and I live with my dad, my stepmom, both of whom I'm not very fond of, and my little sister. I'm making this video because last night I lost someone that's very important to me, and because all of these things that I'm going to talk about have something to do with me. First off, we have anxiety. Anxiety is a fucking pain in the ass. There's so much that anxiety does to you that it slowly ruins your thought process and how you function. That it's ridiculous. Social anxiety is a bitch to deal with, and it makes it so hard to make new friends. Anxiety comes in several different forms, but basic anxiety is the most common of all. Everyone deals with anxiety in different ways, but a lot of people take medicine for it. The worst part about anxiety are the random anxiety and or panic attacks that come out of nowhere. They usually start when you freak out over something. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, sometimes it's nothing at all. Then you start crying. Now your chest hurts really badly and you can barely breathe. You try to speak, but nothing will come out. Slowly you start taking deep breaths, and now you're able to speak. You either start apologizing or you start repeating whatever's going through your head at that point in time. Eventually you start calming down, but you still don't know what to do. After that, it's done. You're still alive. Whether it's your first anxiety attack, your 5th, your 20th, your 50th, your 100th, or your last anxiety attack, you are still alive. You made it through that anxiety attack. Now we have depression. To sum it up, depression is this monster that lives inside of you and eats you alive over time. Depression is a bottomless pit that you dug and then completely forgot about until you fell in it. People try so many things to help you get out of that hole, but as you get closer and closer to the top, it gets harder and harder to get out, and eventually it grabs you and pulls you back in entirely. Living in that hole isn't fun because you're all alone and nothing can really help you. You stay locked away and you spend most of your time on the internet meeting new people who understand your situation and wishing that you actually knew them. Some of these people you will get to meet in your lifetime, but you won't get to meet many of them. The scariest part about having depression is that it can get so bad that you don't leave your room much at all because you don't have any motivation to do anything. Depression doesn't just go away. Depression is a lifelong thing for the majority of people. Now we're at the part where I should really consider taking some of this advice into hand. Self-harm. Self-harm isn't just dangerous, it's life-threatening. You're not supposed to joke about self-harm, but honestly, I've joked about it so that I can cope with the fact that I have self-harmed. Do not romanticize self-harm, because there is absolutely nothing romantic about it. Romanticizing self-harm is just like romanticizing Romeo and Juliet. It's not romantic or cute. You're destroying something so perfect, and you're hurting everyone that cares about you. The first time that you take that blade to your skin, you think that it's going to relieve you of any and all mental pain that you feel. In reality, it doesn't relieve you of anything. It's just the beginning of a hard path and possibly a new addiction. Self-harm doesn't only destroy your body, but it destroys your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and you start to become self-conscious. Self-harm is beyond too common in today's teen population. Self-harm is one of the leading causes of the next subject, suicide. Until a couple days ago, I didn't know what it was like to lose somebody to suicide. I was the last person that he talked to. And after he died, I laid there crying my eyes out for an hour straight because I couldn't do anything to help him. I started freaking out because I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't help him. The day after he died, I went through a notebook and found something that I wrote for him when we were dating, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just put it away for now. Losing someone to suicide, it's not easy at all. It's one of the hardest things I have had to deal with, and honestly it hurts because I miss him and I don't know what to do sometimes. It hasn't been very long, but I miss him like crazy, and it hurts. But I'm trying to cope with it. Chris, I'll always remember you, I promise. Lastly, we have paranoia. Paranoia is a lot like anxiety, but it's worse. You're always thinking about the worst case scenario possible. You're always convinced that everyone hates you, that you're not a good person, and so on. Being paranoid makes a lot of people really jumpy, and it sucks. You never know what will happen next. All of these things are terrifying. And unless you actually understand the person's situation, don't try to understand. Trying to understand any of these things is one of the worst possible things to do when you're with somebody who has something to do with all of these. None of these things are fun or easy to deal with. And if you know somebody that's involved with any of these, or if you're involved with any of these things, just know that it'll get better eventually. It may not be soon, but it'll get better eventually. I promise.